Episode 21 is called You Asked For It. This one's directed by Art Vitello, Art Leonardi, and Eddie Fitzgerald. Features a script by Sherry Stoner, Tom Mitten, Wayne Katz, and Eddie Fitzgerald. They say that this is a viewer request episode, but I don't think it really is. It's just something that they use to create a wraparound. So you have three shorts: Debutante Devil, Sleight of Hair, and Duck Out of Luck. And this this episode, I like the idea of it in terms of like the wraparound, but a lot of the shorts here are really just forgettable and just kind of bland and just not really that great. Like I would say Duck Out of Luck is the best one. Yeah, Duck Out of Luck is the best one, and honestly, saying that they're mostly forgettable is not fair to that short because it uses a lot of creativity in terms of behind the scenes process and showing Plucky go through several different settings and transformations because the viewers are deciding what happens to him. Um, so that one's very clever and imaginative. But Sleight of Hair and Debutante Devil just kind of run together. Episode 22 is called Gangbusters, and I wanted to bust my foot in this episode's ass because this episode sucked that much. Uh, this one's directed by Ken Boyer, Wayne Katz, and Jim Reardon. This is easily one of the worst episodes of the entire show, and not just the first season. I don't know what the writers were thinking with this one. I don't know what happened here with the animation. The animation quality falls off a massive cliff in this episode. It is so cringe-inducing to watch, and it's painful. It deals with Montana Max, who now is a street gang for some reason, which makes no sense. He's the richest kid in Acme Acres. Why would he need a street gang? He decides that he's going to steal a slushing machine, which also, once again, makes no sense because you could just buy all the slushing machines that he could ever possibly want. So he steals this slushing machine, frames Buster for it. Buster then gets arrested. Plucky Duck acts as his lawyer, but he's so annoying that he gets thrown into jail with Buster. Buster and Plucky then try to escape from jail. Not before there's like a scene where they use their eyeballs to play Pong. That's how piss poor the writing is in this episode. And they wind up somehow, some way capturing these two mob gangster guys who were trying to escape at the same time. They didn't get let out. They go and try to get revenge on Monty by rapping to get him to confess. And the rapping is just so atrocious and so awful in every possible conceivable fashion. The rhyme schemes suck. It's so lame. And I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking this show sucks if this was the first episode that they saw. Like, this episode is egregious. Like, it is so fucking bad. Episode 23, thankfully, is actually legitimately great. You have this just massive low point for the show. And then you get episode 23, where okay, now we're going back up to where this show should be. And this is an episode called Citizen Max. It's directed by Art Vitello, featuring a script by Gordon Bresick, Charles M. Howell IV, Paul Dini, and Tom Rugger. This is a really clever, really well done parody of Citizen Kane with Montana Max as Charles Kane, and deals with Hampton as some investigator who's interviewing the other characters, trying to figure out why Max said Acme, but he's struggling to find the answer, even though it's like right in front of his face. At the end, of course, it's revealed that he actually said acne instead of acme, but before that, it's insinuated that oh, he's thinking about his bicycle, but they change things around, so it's not just the same story as Citizen Kane. But yeah, it's just a really well put together episode. Definitely one of my favorites. Uh I actually like it more than the movies Citizen Kane. Episode 24 is called Wake Up Call of the Wild, directed by Rich Aarons, featuring a script by Tom Menton, Pat Alley, Ben Hurst, Gordon Bresic, and Charles M. Howell IV. This is all about animal instincts. Most of these shorts here are forgettable. And I know I've repeated that numerous times, but that's the best way to describe a lot of these shorts. You have Migrant Mallard, where Plucky's trying to migrate with these ducks, and then he realizes quickly this isn't for him. It's a jungle out there with Concord Condor. Hated this short because I hate Concord Condor. Yup, 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 yup. Yup, 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 yup. Oh no, 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 no. That's exactly how that character acts. He's being chased by Arnold the Pit Bull, and he's trying to escape the zoo, and the pit bull's chasing after him, and then he returns to the zoo. It's like pointless, pathetic, annoying, irritating short. Kitty Catastrophe is the best one because I could relate to it. It deals with Furball, and he's living with Hampton, and Furball and Hampton turn out to be quite the pair. And they have some good chemistry, and there's a good dynamic between the two. It's a fun little clever idea where it shows their animal instincts. So it shows Furball just flipping out like cats tend to do, where it seems like they're fine and they're chill, and now they're wanting to chase their own tail. Now they're wanting to tear things down, knock things over, attack you, and Furball is imagining himself as a prehistoric cat, and Hampton is prey. And it's an episode that as a cat owner you can really relate to and have fun with it for that reason alone. And then the twist at the end where Hampton just snaps and then goes back to his primal instincts as a prehistoric warthog and then starts chasing after Furball was a nice way to turn the tables. So yeah, I like that short, but the other two, not so much. Episode 25 is called Buster and the Wolverine, directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Tom Ruegger and Paul Dini. This one did nothing for me. It's a parody Peter and the Wolf, where Amira's a conductor and she talks about this story of this Wolverine that is pursuing Buster, Babs, Plucky, and Hampton, a Furball, and Sweetie, and each character is represented by a musical instrument. I see what they're trying to do here, and it's executed okay, but to me, it's not really that funny of a episode for one, and the parody isn't that clever. So it's just one of those episodes that's just very run of the mill. Episode 26 is called You Asked For It, Episode 2, directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Len Jansen, Pamela Hickey, Dennis McCoy, and Dale Hale. It has 3 shorts: The Weird Couple, The Return of the Toxic Revenger, and Little Cake of Horrors. This was a fun one. I didn't mind this one. All 3 shorts were pretty solid. The Weird Couple was a fun parody of The Odd Couple with Dizzy and Hampton. Return of the Toxic Revenger has Plucky, who's back as the Toxic Revenger, and now he's up against Montana Max a second time. But this time, Montana Max is trying to pollute the sky with all this smog and pollution. And so it leads to Plucky using his powers to try to stop Montana Max. And it's definitely a bit of a crowd pleaser. Little Cake of Horrors, I would say, is the best one, which deals with Hampton, who's on a diet, and then he's tempted by this chocolate cake, and then he has this nightmare about the cake being alive, and then just essentially tormenting him to get him to eat it. Which, for anyone who's been on a diet, it's pretty dang relatable. And it's definitely a fear that a lot of people can connect with. Episode 27 is called Europe in 30 Minutes, directed by Arthur Leonardi and written by Stephen Hibbert. This is another weak episode. It deals with Plucky, who wins a tour of Europe on a game show. He takes Buster, Babs, and Hampton with him. He arrives in England, and there's a lot of cheap jokes at British people. They wind up getting kidnapped by these villains, one of which is voiced by Tim Curry. They try to thwart the villain's plans who want to kidnap the royal couple, the Princess Diana and Prince Charles. And the best part of it is just Tim Curry is one of the bad guys. And that's really about it. Another episode that just is painfully stretched out. Like, this show rarely works when you have an episode that has one story that's stretched out to 20 minutes. Episode 28 is thankfully another uh, short episode. It's called The Wacko World of Sports. It's directed by Kent Butterworth, featuring a script by Gordon Bresick, Charles M. Howell IV, Chuck Menville, Grant Moran, and Tom Rugger. This is a sports episode. So you get three shorts that are sports related. Tennis and Menace, Bleacher Bummer, my bad, and Miniature Goof. And I like the idea of it being a sports themed episode, but a lot of these are just so, just serviceable at best. Uh, another episode where a lot of the shorts kind of run together in terms of the quality. Like, I don't even know. I would say Bleacher Bummer, I guess, is probably the best one that deals with the baseball game between Acme Acres and Perfecto Prep. Uh, but Miniature Goof and Tennis the Menace are just, just this is one of those episodes where you're like, this is just okay. Episode 29 is Rainy Days. This one's directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Jim Reardon, Paul Dini, Barry Caldwell, Wayne Katz, and Chris Otsuki. Uh, this is just like a rainy day episode. So you have three shorts: Rent a Friend, Bunny Days, and Foregone Conclusion. And Rent a Friend is, I guess, the best one, where Montana Max is lonely, so he calls a Rent a Friend service. Buster is sent. Buster then is driving him up the wall and outthwarts him at every turn because he's trying to get rid of him, but then Buster just keeps finding ways to get back at Max and get back into the mansion. Bunny Days, Babs is trying to use her imagination to make her chores fun, but it's very typical stuff. Foregone Conclusion is crap, where you have Gotcha Grabmore, who is one of the worst villains in the entire show, some Zsa Zsa Gabor knockoff, who is just a total wench who's going around trying to poach animals and create furs out of animals, and Buster and Babs are in the Arctic and they try to protect the seal, and it's just a bad episode. I mean, a bad short, and just a bad it just it's a bad way to end what was relatively a weaker episode in the first place. Like, that episode is a prime example of how you could have an episode that has the short setup and it would still not necessarily be great. Episode 30 is called Fields of Honey. This is one of my favorites. I really like this one. It's directed by Ken Boyer, written by Sherry Stoner and Tom Rugger. This is another one that I'm nostalgic for, so I think that's maybe another reason why. But I also feel that it's just a really sweet, really heartfelt episode, and I really like the concept. It's a tribute to the older cartoons, the black and white ones, like the Steamboat Willie era, and it deals with Babs, who is the focus of the episode. She's the star, and she's trying to find a female cartoon character to be her mentor, because in Acme Acres and at Acme University, she doesn't have a female mentor. Buster has Bugs, and Plucky has Daffy, and Hampton has Porky, and everyone else has a mentor, but she doesn't have anyone. So she discovers Honey of Bosco and Honey, these old shorts. And she's trying to find Honey. But Honey has been forgotten about for many, many years. And so then there's this like Field of Dreams parody that's inserted in there, where this voice tells Babs to build this theater, and they will come, and she will come. And she builds this theater to show Bosco and Honey shorts. It becomes a runaway success, and in the process, it brings Honey back to life again because the short mentions and really adds a certain extra layer to things by showing that when if cartoons get forgotten about and people don't laugh at them anymore, they get old. And so you have an older Honey who's an older version of Honey who can, just barely kind of shuffle around. And then while everyone's laughing at these Honey shorts, she progressively gets younger and younger, and then until she's back to her old self. And what really makes this episode truly great to me, it is the writing, because you have that going on that really adds some depth to things, but then you have the ending, which is just so heartwarming, where Honey reunites with Bosco. And it's just a really sweet way to end things, and I just really like that episode. Like it's the right way to tug at your heartstrings. Episode 31 is called Sawdust and Toon Soul. It's written by Rich Aarons, features a script by Gordon Bressick, Charles M. Howell IV. It deals with Go-Go Dodo, these other Wacky Land characters. They're kidnapped by this circus owner who's like a creep, and then they're essentially in so much trouble now that Buster and Babs and Plucky have to try to save them. It was just another one of those episodes. Number 32 is called Spring in Acme Acres. One's directed by Kent Butterworth, Eddie Fitzgerald, featuring script by Gordon Bressick, Charles M. Howell IV, Eddie Fitzgerald, and Chuck Menville. This has 3 shorts: Love Among the Tunes, Myra Spring Cleaning, and That's Incredibly Stupid. And this is just another episode that is just very forgettable. That's sadly kind of a common occurrence in this first season throughout a good chunk of these 65 episodes. Love Among the Tunes is definitely the worst. Elmer Fudd, he's Cupid. For whatever reason, he gets tired of his job, decides to give Concord Condor the job, and he's incompetent. So it just turns into an absolute disaster, and then Elmer has to fix all of his mistakes. Elmira just gets way too crazy with cleaning her house, and I guess it's supposed to be funny because she just doesn't know how to clean things properly. That's Incredibly Stupid, I guess, is the best one of the bunch, but that's not saying much because it's still relatively mediocre. Where Plucky and Dizzy, they're competing on a game show where they have to do all these dangerous stunts, but Plucky doesn't want to do anything, so he just tricks Dizzy into doing everything. And it somehow works, and it leads to Plucky being able to win the prize, and the final stunt is judging a beauty competition. And Plucky can't make up his mind, or he picks the wrong girl, and so the girls just beat the crap out of him. Number 33 is Psychic Phenomenon Day, and this is directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Jim Reardon, Errol Kress, and Tom Rugger. This one I really liked. This has some really clever, fun shorts in it. You got Peace of Mind, which is a parody of This Is Your Life, with Wile E. Coyote as a narrator, who's summarizing Calamity Coyote's life and his relationship with Little Beeper as Calamity is falling from a tall building. And I just like the way that the writing was done here. It was very punchy, and it was really fun how Calamity wound up giving Wile E. Coyote the final fall, so to speak. Class Cut Up. This is a sequel to One Froggy Evening, where Hampton is given a frog to dissect in class, but he doesn't want to do it. And then the frog is just singing and doing the "Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime girl." ba da 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 da, and like everyone else cannot see this frog sing because it only sings around him and appears dead to everyone except Hampton. So this drives Hampton insane. Um, Rear Window Pane is a really fun parody of Rear Window where Plucky has been hospitalized and he's given a pair of binoculars to look out the window, and he thinks that Elmer Fudd is growing what are Elmer pods, like clones of Elmer, uh, that are made out of eggplants. It just has a lot of fun little callbacks to Rear Window and Hitchcock. Episode 34 is The Wild World of Elmira. It's directed by Kent Butterworth, featuring a script by Earl Kress, Tom Rugged, Tom Minton, Paul Dini, Beth Bornstein, and Bob Carew. It's an Alma Elmira episode, and they're all misses for me. The best one is just one that at best is just meh, with Mission J Frog teaching Tyrone Turtle how to cross a busy highway to get away from Elmira and return to his pond. The other two are just really lame or painful. Turtle Hurdle, like I said, is the best one of the bunch, but Drooly Davy and Go Fetch are really not that great, especially Drooly Davy. Drooly Davy is an incredibly lazy short that just recycles the same gags from the Little Sneezer Elmira episode. Episode 35 is A Ditch in Time, directed by Art Vitello, featuring a script by Wayne Katz, Art Vitello, Bruce Timm, and Douglas McCarthy. This is one of my favorites. This is a really fun take on the time machine, where Plucky, he's such a procrastinator that he didn't get his homework done on time, so he decides to invent a time machine, travel back in time to warn himself to do the homework. But in the process, he sends himself, Buster, and Babs to other parts in time. And so it's a really creative, really clever, really imaginative episode in terms of the writing. They do a great job utilizing the time travel angle, and is another one I would recommend. Uh, Episode 36 is Animaniacs. Surprisingly, there are no Animaniacs in it. It's directed by Art Vitello, featuring a script by Paul Dini and Tom Minton. This is an episode that features some really, really strong writing that talks about the creative process of making a cartoon. So Buster, throughout the episode, he's showing Plucky how to make a cartoon as a part of his class assignment. And you get to see these other shorts that the various different tunes have made, which adds another little fun twist to the episode. And the judges are the original Looney Tunes, like Bugs Bunny and Daffy. And it's just a really solid episode. It's another one that I would definitely recommend checking out. Episode 37 is Career Opportunities, directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Gordon Bresick, Charles M. Howell IV, David Cohen, Roger S. Schulman, and Sherry Stoner. This is just all about different tunes working, and it's watchable, but barely. You have three different shorts: Buster's Guide to Getting a Job, Working Pig, and Falling to Pizzas. Buster's Guide to Getting a Job deals with Buster trying to teach Babs in order to enable her to figure out how to get a job. They wind up working at Weenie Burger, and they deal with Montana Max as a particularly unruly customer. Working Pig has Hampton working at a toy department at a mall. He's trying to get a promotion so he can sell cleaning supplies, but the customer is Elmira. And of course, things just go horribly awry. Falling to Pizzas deals with Calamity Cody trying to steal a pizza from Little Beeper, who's working as a delivery boy for the pizza place. It is just a very just blah episode. Episode 38, though, Strange Tales of Weird Science, is one of my favorite anthology episodes. It's directed by Eddie Fitzgerald, Art Leonardi, who for some reason credits himself as Alan Smithy, which I don't understand why. And it's written by Eddie Fitzgerald, Earl Kress, and Tom Minton. So you have three shorts: Sentimental Pig, Pit Bullied, and Duck in the Muck. So you have Sentimental Pig, where Hampton spills this formula or some kind of compound on him. It's supposed to make dog food um, irresistible for all dogs. But what it does, it makes Hampton irresistible to everyone. And so now he's being chased around by all the Toons and by everybody in Acme Acres who's trying to eat him. Kind of a similar sort of vibe as the uh, um, Optical Intrusion short. Pit Bullied, it features Furball, and he gets conditioned with this machine by Sweetie not to eat birds, but to go after dogs instead. So Furball is now trying to chase after Arnold the Pit Bull. Duck in the Muck deals with Plucky Duck yet again as the Toxic Revenger, and he's trying to stop Montana Max from polluting the pond with toxic sludge. Episode 39 is called Inside Plucky Duck. This is another winner, another fun one, another one I would definitely recommend checking out. It's written by Art Patello, featuring a script by Paul Dini, Buzz Dixon. And it's all shorts that are dealing with Plucky Duck. And Buster, Babs, and Calamity, they wind up shrinking down in a machine. They go inside Plucky's head. And that's where you get Bat's All Folks, which is the origin of Bat Duck, which is a blast if you're a Batman fan. Just a really fun parody of Batman. Wild Takes Class, where Plucky's trying to, let's just say, excel at Daffy's wild takes, and he winds up stuck as a giant eyeball throughout most of the episode. It was just a fun way to incorporate Looney Tunes gags into the plot. Episode 40 is called the Acme Bowl. It's directed by Ken Boyer, featuring a script by Stephen Langford, Deborah Blanchard, Tom Rugger, and Paul Dini. It's another sports one, but now the entire episode is a sports thing, and it is just the pits. It deals with an Acme Acres football team. They haven't won a single game, and Perfecto Prep is the opponent, and Buster is a new quarterback, so there's this thought that he's going to will them to victory, but Plucky is now a double agent because he wants to go to Perfecto Prep. And ultimately, you find out that it was all a ploy, and Plucky was and Buster were plotting against Perfecto Prep the entire time. And the secret play that they were talking about was the one where Plucky would act as a double agent. It's just a really weak episode. Episode 41 is called Dating Acme Acres Style, directed by Gerard Baldwin, Ken Boyer, and Rich Ahrens. Featuring a script by Tom Rugger, Sherry Stoner, and Paul Dini. It deals with two segments: Love Stinks and the Dream Date Game. Love Stinks, I would say, is the best one, where Calamity Cody's trying to catch a little beeper, but then he gets painted like a skunk, and then Fifi chases after him. The Dream Date Game is just a typical dating game parody. Not really one of the strongest episodes, but the Fifi episode makes it at least kind of tolerable. Episode 42 is Luniversity Days, directed by Gerard Baldwin, featuring a script by Paul Dini, Eddie Fitzgerald, Jim Reardon, and Stephen Langford. Three more shorts: The Learning Principle, Eating Between the Lines, and What's Up Nurse. This one, I barely even remember anything about it. That shows you how forgettable this episode is. Learning Principle has Buster. He's being sent to the principal's office by Yosemite Sam. There's a Wizard of Oz parody in there randomly. Eating Between the Lines is a sweetie focused episode where she's trying to eat this bookworm at the library. And then What's Up Nurse is Plucky trying to fake being sick to get out of doing a test. But then, of course, the nurse's office features a nurse that's Elmira. And of course, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Episode 43 is Best of Plucky Duck Day. Directed by Rich Ahrens, featuring a script by Beth Bornstein, Paul Dini, Eddie Fitzgerald, Tom Mitton, and Tom Rugger. There's a 3 more shorts, 1 minute till 3, Sticky Feathers Duck and Duck in the Dark. This is another episode that I really enjoyed. Like, I would say that this is right up there with one of the best episodes of the first season. I liked it that much. 1 minute till 3 has Plucky trying to get out of school so we can start his weekend or as early as possible, but the clock just will not go fast. It just seems like it's not going forward at all. And Granny, who's the teacher, keeps handing out these term papers for the wrong answers, and so it's just a great amount of suspense, and it's a well-written episode in terms of the way that things play out throughout the short. Sticky Feathers Duck. It's honestly a good episode in terms of showcasing to kids that stealing is wrong, and the way that it's set up is entertaining, but also um really thoughtful, because you have Plucky and Hampton. They're trying to steal this Acme Super Duper Munch and Crunch bar with almonds from a convenience store, but then they deal with guilt, and the guilt manifests itself in these hallucinations that scare them, and so then they go back and give the bar back to the storekeeper. And then the third one, Duck in the Dark, is my favorite out of the shorts, where Plucky spends the night at Buster's place and he starts having nightmares because he watched too many horror movies. And it features Eddie Cougar, who is a parody of Freddy Cougar. Which you got a Freddy Krueger parody in it. Like, I'm sold. Like, that's automatically one of my favorites just for having Eddie Cougar. Episode 44 is Hero Hampton, directed by Gerard Baldwin, featuring a script by Gordon Bressick, Charles M. Howell IV. This is a really crappy, just lame episode. Another one where they stretched out a thin concept to 20 minutes, and it's tiresome, and then it also has really bad animation. Hampton, he hits Montana Max. Montana threatens to hit him back. Plucky decides to create a boxing match between Hampton and Max, and it turns into this whole thing where Plucky is trying to train Hampton and also trying to make money from the fight. Hampton is scared because this is Hampton, and he talks to Porky Pig, who gives him some inspiration to be able to win the fight. And he uses Porky's props and acts like he's pissed off to scare Max away. And the only thing that really was salvageable about it was the interactions between Porky and Hampton. Other than that, this episode sucked. And the episode after was even worse, though. 45, Whale's Tales. Directed by Kent Butterworth, featuring a script by Nicholas Hollander. This was baby shit. Like, just really smelly, rank baby crap for babies. So it deals with this baby whale that got lost. The first 5 minutes of the short don't even feature any Tiny Toons. It honestly looks like something you would see on the Disney Channel for preschoolers. Elmira takes the baby whale. Buster and Babs convince Elmira that the whale has to be returned to its mother, but the mother's being held prisoner by Gotcha Grabmore. Great, this fucking character is back. Just so bad. Like, maybe not quite as bad and as hard to watch as the one where they rap at Montana Max, Gangbusters, but it's up there. Thankfully, The show gets better after this, with episode 46, Ask Mr. Popular, directed by Rich Aarons, featuring a script by Paul Dini and Therese Nagul. You have two segments, Dapper Diz and A Pigment of His Imagination. And both of these shorts I liked. Dapper Diz deals with Buster, Plucky, and Hampton, who used a machine that turned Dizzy Devil into a proper gentleman using different personality traits from all of them. But it doesn't work out. He becomes less popular and he's just a buzzkill, and Dizzy's miserable. And in a lot of ways, it's a good example of why you should just be yourself and not try to be what other people want you to be or think you should be. Don't align with peer pressure. Just be who you are. A Pigment of His Imagination is a fun parody, not necessarily a parody, but it's a take on Imaginary Friend, where Hampton feels like his friends don't really like him or don't respect him because he was picked last for a game of kickball. So he creates this imaginary friend who treats him even worse. And he's a selfish, vain, self absorbed jackass who acts like he's a total Chad. And by the end of the short, Hampton realizes his friends really do care about him, and he defeats his imaginary friend. Episode 47 is Son of University Days, directed by Gerard Baldwin, featuring a script by Tom Minton and Buzz Dixon. It's another episode that features shorts of mixed quality. You got three shorts again: Plucky's Dastardly Deed, Open and Shut Case, and C flat or B sharp. Open and Shut Case is kind of fun because Hampton is given this high-tech locker, which is a clear parody of Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Uh, but I would say the best one is C flat or B sharp because it's just a really solid, well done throwback to the old Looney Tunes shorts, where you have Buster, Plucky, and Hampton, where they're trying to get this piano from the University Tower and present it to Yosemite Sam. And all this different sort of stuff happens that gets in their way, or they have to come up with creative ways to get the piano to the auditorium, and it's all edited and put together to classical music, and there's little to no dialogue, and it's very reliant upon the animation and just the movement. It's just a really well done throwback short. Plucky's Dastardly Deed is just another kind of throwaway short where Plucky cheats on a test and he feels bad about it. Episode 48 is called Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool. It's directed by Art Vitello, featuring a script by Gordon Bressick, Jim Reardon, Charles M. Howell IV. Two more segments, Slugfest and Venison Anyone. Another one that's just kind of just there. Slugfest is like a parody of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where instead of it being turtles, it's slugs. They're the immature radioactive samurai slugs, and Plucky and Hampton pretend to be these slugs, which then leads them into a scenario where they wind up actually fighting the real villain from the show, the Iodizer. It was kind of fun as a little parody of TMNT, but not really much more than that. Venison Anyone deals with this deer named Vinny, and Montana Max is trying to hunt this deer, but the deer is some wise, smart aleck, cool kid deer, and it was just really not anything that special or memorable in really any capacity. It was just kind of one of those like, all right, whatever type episodes, type shorts. Definitely trying to do the whole Montana Max as Elmer Fudd type of deal, and the deer is essentially Bugs Bunny, but it's voiced by a kid, or what sounds like a kid, who has some street smarts. You know, he's the kind of '90s kid who's like really hip and so on, and in tune with what's popular. It's just it's the kind of thing that has not aged well. to say the least. Uh, Episode 49 is called Fairy Tales for the 90s, directed by Ken Boyer, featuring a script by Tom Ruggert, Tom Menton, Gordon Bressick, and Jim Reardon. Babs shows up. I think this is her debut appearance as Tinker Bunny. Yeah, two stories, Pinocchio and Bare Necessities. Another one where it's just not really that great. It's just kind of there, just in the middle. The best short I would say is Pinocchio because of Buster and dealing with this failing toy company and this guy who literally is Geppetto is working for this company, and he thinks that Buster is this new toy that he created, and so he packages Buster up, and Buster escapes, and eventually what happens is all these executives they wind up getting put into this toy making machine, and they get turned into the latest greatest toy craze, which I didn't mind that because it was just a nice little way to kind of just switch things around and make these executives into the toys. Number 50 is a parody of Who Framed Roger Rabbit called Who Bopped Bugs Bunny, directed by Kent Butterworth, written by Paul Dini, Earl Kress, and Sherry Stoner. This is another one I really liked. It was a very well done parody of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You have this toon named Sappy Stanley, who is jealous of Bugs Bunny, and he tries to take out Bugs, kidnap him, frame Daffy for the crime, but Buster and Babs, they're on the case. And so they're trying to figure out the mystery throughout the episode, and Buster and Babs are impersonating Columbo, and it was just a well-written episode and had some nice twists and turns to it, and I like the whole mystery angle. Episode 51 is Tiny Toon Music Television. It's directed by Art Vitello, and features a script by Sherry Stoner, Paul Dini, Tom Minton, Art Vitello, Bruce Timm, and Douglas McCarthy. And this is right up there with Cinemaniacs and Hollywood Plucky as my favorite episode of the first season, if not of the entire show. Like, I loved this. Like, this is another one I highly recommend checking out. Uh, this is a collection of music videos. So you have Istanbul. You have two songs by They Might Be Giants. So you have Istanbul and Particle Man. You have Respect starring Babs Bunny, singing Aretha Franklin's Respect. You got Money, featuring Montana Max. This is the song by, yeah, Barry Gordy. And then you have Top Secret Apprentice, which is a spoof of The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, where it involves Buster, who decides to just mess around with Bugs' new cartoon machine. And all of these are really fun, feature some really just great, awesome animation. You can just tell that everybody involved with this episode killed their assignment and at the same time just had a blast. I would say my favorite one is Top Secret Apprentice because I'm a huge fan of Fantasia. And it was just really fun to see the Tiny Toon version of that. And there's just so much creativity and just so much imaginative bits of animation that are put into that scene with Buster in space and with space aliens and then going underwater and then trying to stay one step ahead of a shark and then winding up in prehistoric age trying to avoid a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it's just the way the animation is just so fluid. And I just loved how in this episode you just saw a variety of animation styles as well. It was just a very creative, very fun, very enjoyable episode. Um, Episode 52 is The Return of Acme Acre Zone, directed by Kent Butterworth, featuring a script by Wayne Katz, Kent Zorbnak, Tom Minton, Mike McCasley, and Maurice Noble. Three more shorts: Real Kids Don't Like Broccoli, Boo Ha Ha, and Duck Dodgers Jr. Funny enough, the Duck Dodgers Jr. short was the weakest one out of these three for me, but it was still watchable. Just an above average episode for sure. Uh, Real Kids Don't Like Broccoli was like a film noir parody that took place in the future where Buster is a detective trying to figure out what happened to these missing droids. Boo Ha Ha is a fun short with Plucky and Hampton where they stay at this haunted mansion. They get haunted by this ghost and they wind up staying at his home at the end of the short, which happens to be, I guess, in hell. It was just a really kind of twisted episode, but I enjoyed it. It had some really clever, creepy imagery in it at times. Duck Dodgers Jr. It was all right. It was fun to see Plucky work alongside Duck Dodgers, but I liked the first two shorts more. Episode 53 is the Acme Home Shopping Show. Eddie Fitzgerald is uncredited as the director. The credited director is Rich Aarons. Written by Sherry Stoner and Paul Dini. Three more shorts: Oh for Art's Sake, Teddy Bear's Picnic, and I Was a Teenage Bunny Sitter. Uh, the best one is like when Plucky becomes a massive success as an artist because he uses a remote and pauses a dog and a cat fighting and then puts the paused image in a frame, and it was a fun little parody of the pretentiousness of the art world. The other two were pretty bad, pretty poor. Um, Another episode I could definitely just skip. You know, it's like one of those things where like if you're gonna watch the show, you don't necessarily have to watch every single episode to get a taste of it. Um, because there are a lot of episodes where there's really not much there. This is kind of one of them. Episode 54, The Weirdest Stories Ever Told, directed by Art Leonardi, Gordon Kent, and Paul Dini. This one features three more shorts: Robin Hair, To Babs or Not to Babs, and Amira's Around the World. Another one I didn't really care for. Three shorts that were at best tolerable, at worst not so much. Robin Hair, a weak, lame parody of Robin Hood with the Tiny Toon characters. To Babs or Not to Babs, where Babs is trying to be a star in Shakespeare's newest play and is just being obnoxious and just won't leave Shakespeare alone. Elmira's Around the World. Buster dreams that Elmira is worldwide and she has relatives, and it just, if you thought Elmira was nightmarish before, even more so now because she's everywhere and there's no escape. Episode 55 is Viewer Mail Day, directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Paul Dini, Arwen Sorkin, Beth Milston, Tom Benton, and Wayne Kotz. Three more shorts: Plucko the Irish, Out of the Odor, and Buttering Up the Buttfields. This one was better than the last episode. I mean, I like Plucko the Irish with Plucky and Hampton going to Ireland and then having to try to deal with a banshee, and a lot of the imagery in that was really interesting. Some really cool animation in terms of the different forms the banshee would take. Out of Odor, another one where I could kind of deal with it because it's a one where Elmira actually gets some punishment throughout the short, but it still ends in the same way where Fifi doesn't walk away victorious. Elmira still gets her, which brings it down a notch for me. Buttering Up the Buttfields was just a one note gag. Oh wow, Plucky is a waiter and he must tend to these high class uh uh guests who have big butts and are fat. Ha ha. Yeah, not not the best episode, but there are definitely worse episodes in this first season than that. Episode 56 is Son of the Wacko World of Sports. It's directed by Rich Aarons, featuring a script by Jim Reardon, Grant Moran, Tom Minton, Tom Rugger, and Earl Kress. Three more shorts: Buster at the Bat, Buster's New Bike, and Acme Acres Summer Olympics. These sports episodes are definitely some of the weaker ones. All three of these shorts are just below average. The best one, I guess, is Buster's New Bike, but that's not saying much. Episode 57 is Pollution Solution, directed by Ken Boyer, featuring a script by Sherry Stoner, M.D. Sweeney, and Jim Reardon. Three more shorts: No Deposit, No Return of the Trash Bag Dispenser, Jungle Bungle, and Waist Deep in Wacky Land. And this one's definitely trying to be an environmental one. And it's another just really just tiresome, just forgettable, nothing really that funny or that enjoyable kind of episode where it's just kind of going through the motions. It seems like it's just trying to preach to you. The No Deposit, No Return of the Trash Bag Dispenser one was especially bland and bad. And for whatever reason, Plucky is now the trash bag dispenser. I'm like, shouldn't he just be the Toxic Revenger? Why does he have to be this new character that has an environmental bent? Jungle Bungle, Buster and Babs dealing with this guy who's named Ronald Grump, who's some bald dude who's trying to tear down the rainforest. Waist Deep in Wacky Land, Montana Max is trying to pollute Wacky Land, and then Go Go Dodo winds up teaching him a lesson. Yeah, it's the solution here is not to watch this episode. But just pollute your eyeballs. Episode 58 is called You Asked For It Again. It's directed by Ken Boyer, featuring a script by Tom Minton and Nicholas Hollander. Three more shorts: Buster's Guide to Goofing Off, Admire at the Mall, and Hold the Sugar. And this is another really bland and bad episode. This is at the point where you're like, okay, we are really stretching things. We're really struggling to get to 65 episodes so we can get to syndication. Buster's Guide to Goofing Off is, I guess, the best one, where Buster's teaching you how to procrastinate on your homework and do things last minute, still get away with it. Elmira at the Mall is another one where she gets locked in the mall and then she gets robbed by these two burglars, and it's just, who cares? She can just stay locked in the mall, as far as I'm concerned. Hold the Sugar is like a bunch of ants who, I guess, realize that too much sugar is a bad thing. I'm like, it's ants. Like, what other things did the ants eat? So yeah, it's just that one was really really bland and bad and just pretty terrible. Um, the next episode after that is episode 59, called Brave Tales of Real Rabbits, directed by Rich Ahrens, featuring a script by Eddie Fitzgerald, Earl Kress, and Tom Minton, and Jim Reardon. This is another one where they really are stretching things. It's like some version of Masterpiece Theater called Master Hair Theater, and it's two shorts, and All That Rot, which is a parody of Sherlock Holmes, with Brainy Domes and Flotsam trying the search for the Queen's missing jewels, with Montiarty as a prime suspect, but it's actually not what you think it is at the end, because it's not the jewels that the Queen was looking for, it's something else. And it was just a really lame parody of Sherlock Holmes. It was not funny. Day for Night, Sir Buster goes on a quest to save Babs from a dragon, and the dragon, for some reason, is doing an impression of Woody Allen. Ever want to see a dragon act like Woody Allen? This is the cartoon for you. Episode 60 is called How Sweetie It Is, directed by Ken Boyer and Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Sherry Stoner, Nicholas Hollander, and Paul Dini. Three more shorts featuring Sweetie, Egged on the Eagle, Let's Do Lunch, and The Raven. Egged on Eagle is like an origin story about Sweetie and who her dad is, which is a bald eagle. He's trying to train her to be eagle, and it's completely failing in spectacular fashion. Let's Do Lunch has Elmira and Furball, and Furball once again is trying to eat Sweetie. And Elmira has these rules where it's like, oh, if you eat the bird, I'll kick you out. and Sweetie's just trying to get Furball to eat her so she can get him kicked out of the house. And it's an episode that's just hard to watch because you're just like, why? Like, you just let Furball have a home, and not with Elmira, with somebody else who actually cares for Furball and appreciates Furball. Let me adopt Furball. The Raven, it's a parody of the Raven. It's a parody of the Edgar Allan Poe story, but this time with Sweetie, and she's just obnoxious and irritating. And I didn't mind it. It was a well put together, well written parody of the Raven. I think Vincent Price is voicing Edgar Allan Poe. If it's not him, it's a really good impersonator. Number 61 is New Character Day, directed by Ken Boyer and Eddie Fitzgerald, and written by Sherry Stoner and Eddie Fitzgerald. This is an episode that features a spin-off attempt. This is clearly an attempt at a backdoor pilot with these roach characters. It's called the Roaches. It's these three singing female roaches, and there's this whole thing with them trying to set up a performance at Hampton's house. You could tell that this was some attempt by the writers, by somebody involved with the show or the producers to try to make the roaches a thing. I don't know why. It was a bad idea, and it was so dated by the time um, this episode aired. It was like in 1991. This seemed like something that you would have seen like in the 80s, and even that would have been a stretch. The Return of Pluck Tracy. This is one where it's a homage to the Great Piggy Bank Robbery short, but it's also a parody of Dick Tracy. Didn't mind this one. It was a fun little vehicle for Plucky. 62 is Here's Hampton, directed by Rich Ahrens, featuring a script by Tom Benton, Tom Rugger, Jim Reardon, Grant Moran. 3 different shorts this time: Milk and Makes a Body Spout, America's Least Wanted, and Drawn and Buttered. And it's another episode with 3 shorts that are just so-so at best. I would say the best one is America's Least Wanted, but that's not saying much. 63 is A No Tune is an Island, directed by Art Leonardi, featuring a script by Gordon Bressick and Charles M. Howell IV. This one was pretty good. This was a fun episode. Deals with Buster, Babs, and Plucky in Hampton. They discover a treasure map. They then go to this island. They try to find the treasure, and in the process, they realize that there is such a thing as a green-eyed monster, and it's got a good message to it, and it's just a fun romp with all of the main gang together, and it was an enjoyable episode. It was fun to watch. 64 is K Acme TV. Um, Directed by Kent Butterworth, Art Leonardi, and Ken Boyer, featuring a script by Paul Dini, Sherry Stoner, and Tom Rugger. This is another a solid episode. This is a TV parody episode. This is another one that I would definitely recommend. I think it's a good companion piece to the music video television episode and the other movie parody episodes. This one features a ton of different parodies of a ton of different things. Jeopardy, I Love Lucy, The Wonder Years, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The People's Court, Lucky Charms, Super Mario Brothers. There's even a point with the parody of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids where there are fake title cards that happen because it's like a trailer. And so it has these things that pop up to tell you who the cast is and what the title of the movie is and so on. And these title cards pop up lightning fast and really quick, blink and you miss them. But if you pause them with your DVD remote and you read them, they're really clever and they're really funny. There's just a lot of in jokes in there. And that was something that definitely added to the enjoyment of that particular episode. And then you have the final episode of season 1, High Tune, which is number 65, directed by Glenn Kennedy and written by Chuck Menville. And this one deals with Buster and Babs, and they wind up going the wrong way. They're trying to go to Acme Land. They wind up in a place called Prairie Junction, which is a western town, and it's being attacked by the Coyote Kid and his gang of outlaws. It's up to Buster and Babs, and of course Hampton and Plucky to team up to try to stop the Coyote Kid. It's very much the Three Amigos, but with Tiny Toons, and I'd rather watch the Three Amigos. But yeah, that's the first season of Tiny Toon Adventures. It was definitely enjoyable to watch the segments and the shorts that I remember from my childhood, as well as find some new ones that I didn't remember seeing, like music video television and so on. But it is a show that throughout 65 episodes, I will admit, there is a larger amount of episodes that are just kind of there and forgettable and mediocre at best than there are episodes that are really good. So, when it comes to a cartoon series, even from this time period and even one that's intended for a younger audience, I would say that this is a little weaker than some other ones out there. But I still think it has a lot of personality, a lot of charm, and it's still, for the most part, an enjoyable show. Even some of the episodes that were forgettable, they were still mostly watchable. There were only really a couple episodes in general that I really hated. So that's a pretty decent track record, I guess, especially for a children's for a show that was intended for a younger audience and for a cartoon series. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on season 1 of Tiny Toon Adventures. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.